TLDR, how to set up your own DHCP server. Create two Linux virtual machines, one for the DHCP server and one for a testing client. To install the initial dependencies, I will start with an external switch and change to a private switch later. Go through the setup wizard of your distribution. Reboot when prompted. Install the relevant DHCP server package for your distribution. For Fedora, it's called dhcp-server. Turn off both VMs once you're done. Go back to your hypervisor and change the network adapter for both VMs from the external network to a private network. Connect to your VMs. Check the network connectivity using the nmcli tool. You should see that neither of the VMs has a private IP. Use nmcli connection show and the name of your interface to check the IPv4 configuration. Using nmcli connection modify, we will disable DHCP and set a static IP for our DHCP server. Once you're done, you can restart the Network Manager service. You should now see an IP address assigned to your interface. To verify connectivity between the servers, I will also configure a static IP for the client. You should be able to ping the client from the server and vice versa. Now to configure the DHCP server. Open the file located in etc, dhcp and named dhcp.conf. Initially, the file should be empty. In the example configuration file, you can find some of the values you can use with your DHCP server. I will copy the example configuration file to the dhcp config directory. The first two settings I will update are the domain name and the domain name servers. The domain name is the search domain that is automatically appended to DNS queries if you omit the trailing dot. The domain name servers are the servers used for DNS resolution. You can specify one or multiple, separated by commas. Uncomment the line authoritative. As the command suggests, this should be done if this DHCP server is the official one for the local network. I will delete some of the default configuration that we don't need for this example. At the end, your file should look something like this. It should include information about your domain name, the DNS servers and the lease time, your default subnet that you plan to assign, and one sample host for which I will configure a static IP address later. Update the subnet block to match the actual IP addresses you want for your subnet. I'm choosing the subnet 10.20.30.0 divided by 24 with an assignable IP range starting at .200 and ending at .254. Note that you should not include 255 as an assignable IP, as it's the broadcast address for your network. I will also configure the router in this network to be the same IP as the DHCP server. You can now enable and start the dhcpd service. Using system control status, check that the dhcpd service is up and running. Using journal control, you can follow the logs of the dhcpd service. Let's update our client and re-enable DHCP by removing the static IP address. Once you restart the Network Manager service on the client, you should see logs on the server informing you that a new DHCP lease has been issued. Because I had previously configured a static IP on the client, I will now reboot the client to clear that IP address. Upon rebooting, you will notice more logs on the server informing you that the DHCP lease has been reused. Using nmcli, you can check the currently configured IP again. Both systems should be able to ping each other on the configured IPs. Using tcpdump, we can now take a look at the packets that are being exchanged between server and client. To send a new DHCP request from the client, we will take down the interface and then turn it back on. You should be able to see a total of 4 packets being sent. The DHCP discover packet, then the DHCP offer, the DHCP request, and finally the DHCP acknowledge. Let's go back to the config file to configure a static IP for our client. You can find the hardware Ethernet address of the client using nmcli. I chose to give the client a static IP of 10.20.30.40. Don't forget to restart the dhcpd service after changing the config file. When restarting tcpdump, you should now see the static IP in the DHCP offer. Checking with nmcli on the client, you should also see the static IP configured via DHCP. Congratulations, you've set up your own DHCP server.